Alright, so what I wanted to do today was talk about the old characters and how people want them to come back and how that might be an issue, mainly due to the fact that the storyline for the mainline games is a continuous kind of timeline, and the longer it goes on, the older these characters get. Let's not forget, Resident Evil 1 and 2 are a few months apart, and, that was a long time ago, especially in the timeline of the game. So Jill, Chris, Leon, and Claire mainly are at a point where they are getting older. That's all the conversation I've already kind of gone over, how they're older now and they may not be as kind of focused on as a newer set of characters. I think they are slowly introducing more new characters as it goes on. We've got Zoe, who's still alive and doing stuff through lore and stuff like that. We've got Rose now, Mia, and the Connections, who are completely new, as well as Chris and his team. So there are new characters out there. It's just, I think they're going to start phasing the old characters out. And not because they're older, but because of how their experiences in the games affect the future of the games. And that's what I kind of want to talk about today. Straight out of the gate, I do want to say, is this me saying that I don't want them back? Absolutely not. I think I would lose my mind if Jill or Leon or Claire was in the next game. I think it'd be really cool to see. What they do in the game, however, could be different. Are they going to be playable? Are they going to be more of a story character that's there? We don't know. So what I'm going to do is talk about what I mentioned briefly a minute ago and just kind of explain what I mean by it. So going all the way back to the first game and probably up until the end of 4, the characters are still new to what is going on, okay? They're not trained to deal with the situations yet. Resident Evil 1, yes, the stars are an elite task force, but again, in the first game, they're quite overwhelmed. A lot of them die. The situation they're thrown in is completely out of nowhere. It's unexpected. It adds to the horror of the game. The whole series as a whole is a horror game. Same deal with Resident Evil 2. Claire and Leon go into Raccoon City. Leon's just going for his first day at work, and Claire's looking for her brother, and they get thrown into the end of the world situation, and they gotta deal with it. They gotta find a way to get out alive, and it's new. It's not something they're used to. It's something they wouldn't expect to have probably happened, and again, it adds to the horror of the game. They're not familiar with it, you know what I mean? Resident Evil 3, back to Jill. Bit more experience now, a bit more kind of on the detective side of things, trying to figure out what and who is causing it, but still has kind of issues dealing with what happened in the mountains. Obviously, in Resident Evil 3 Remake, you have that dream right at the beginning where she's clearly having nightmares about what has happened, okay? But now, she's a little bit more kind of prepared for it. She knows, she's seen what happens, and Nemesis is a completely new thing. Again, overwhelming at first, kind of a threat at first, but throughout the game, she does beat him, so she's a bit more capable of dealing with it. And then jump to Resident Evil 4. Leon is now a literal special operative working under the president. He has seen this stuff. He knows what is going on in the world. Yes, it does explain it briefly in the Infinite Darkness TV show that's set after 4, that he still kind of has nightmares and he still kind of doesn't forget what happened. And even in the remake trailer for 4, it clearly sits on his mind. But again, he's seen it. He's been in the thick of it. He, has been around it. So it's not new to him if it does happen, which obviously you don't want it to happen, but he's hardened. He knows what's coming. And then obviously 5 and 6, Chris, Leon, everyone's there. And, they're all very much operatives around it. They work specifically against that kind of thing. BSAA is formed. Leon is, again, still working with the president, although briefly, in Resident Evil 6. And, again, special operative. He knows what's going on. He knows what to do and how to deal with it. And that is the issue with bringing the characters back into the games as the, front and center character and still making it scary. You've got to think, yes, okay, it's a new situation for that character, but they've seen it before. It's a much of a muchness, okay? Look at Resident Evil 7. Chris turns up in helicopters with a full team of soldiers ready to deal with what's going on, and isn't really phased by it. Same in the DLC. Doesn't really care what's going on. Just fights them like they're nothing, because he's seen it before. Resident Evil Village, Chris's section of the game, literally mows them down with artillery and a hell of a lot of bullets like it's nothing. They're so experienced with it now. The character development throughout the first 7 games has been so massive for that original cast that they're so much more like, again, I want to say the word, like, they're hardened to it. Like, they know what's coming, they know what to expect, they know how to deal with it, and you can't really get the same horror effect from a character that's been there, done that, than Ethan Winters, who is just a random person who goes to a random house in the middle of nowhere to find his wife, but then gets attacked by monsters that he has never seen before, and it's just a completely surreal situation. Like, that's kind of what the first game was like, and you can't do that consistently with the same, like, 4 or 5 characters. And to be honest, I think that's what they did with Chris in Resident Evil Village. He's in the game, yes, he's playable briefly, but he's more in the game as a major side character than the main character. Like, can you imagine the House Beneviento bit of Resident Evil Village with Chris Redfield, the very, very, very experienced soldier who has purposefully built a team to deal with the situation? It would be over very quickly. But Ethan has no fucking idea. Really, yes, he's military trained in Village, but he's still not at the level of, Chris, Jill, Claire, Leon. So, he's not really, basically he's not a complete tactical soldier. He's still just a guy with a slight bit of military training to protect himself. So, I think that's why Chris is kind of there, but not always there. Plus, I mean, the whole thing they did with him being a villain for the whole game was kind of ridiculous, but regardless, he was still there as a massive character, just on the side. And that's kind of how I think that the other returning characters could be implemented into the games. Give them a playable section of the game, but don't make it, like, heavily focused on them. Like, maybe they're in a mental role. Maybe, for example, let's just say Resident Evil 9 is Rose, okay? Let's just say that is what they do. And then you get an older Jill Valentine, okay, who comes in and, like, trains her and watches over her and stuff like that. Maybe Chris is there as well. Or even Leon or Claire taking that role. Like, you don't know. Like, they could do that. They might not do that. They might actually make those characters playable. But I think if they continue the continuous storyline and it keeps going, they are going to get phased out eventually. Like, they can't keep them going forever. But that is just what I think about the whole thing. I think in terms of the characters being there, I think they'll probably still be around for a few more games. But at the same time, making a horror game with those characters as the main characters can be probably a little bit difficult, considering how much those characters have been through now. That's why with Ethan and Rose, they have potential to make it a more scary game like it was back in the day, because you are throwing new people into new situations. So it's a whole thing. But other than that, let me know your thoughts on what you think of how they'll bring back the characters, or even how they'll kind of send those characters off and how they'll give them a good exit from the series. It's possible soon. So do let me know what you think. Thank you all for coming by and watching, and remember to subscribe for more Resident Evil content. I'll catch you in the next one.